magic of mobility truly occurs through tension. So once we create this length in the quad and grab with that hand, kick into that hand as hard as you can, hold for the allotted time, and watch mobility become extremely sticky. Super duper important, pelvic positioning. Tuck those hips, get it close to the rib cage, stay connected through that core. Second thing, that back knee needs to be barely hovering off of that mat. Third thing, plumb line through the shoulder, hip and knee as you move in and out of these 3 directional drivers with the arms in rotation, in up and down direction, and lastly overhead side to side. Enjoy. Here is a really cool bang for buck exercise. You get some back line mobility as well as some glute hip extension activation. Key points here is you want to make sure that that down knee is as straight as possible and that down heel is as flat as possible. Drive that floating heel as high as you can into the sky and be super strong and stable through the core, shoulder, and elbows. Here's a very complex exercise, but if you get it right, so much goodness is happening within the body. Key points here is keep that lift off knee as straight as possible. Natural compensation is going to be to want to shorten that lever to make it easier on that glute. Second compensation is going to be to want to bend the opposite elbow. So really focus on trying to keep that arm locked out, both arms rather, as you move the leg back into the bird dog position, and then re-establish that hover and get width as you set it back down where you got it. Sometimes simple is best. Biggest compensation here is to want to avoid bending in the big toe, and naturally the heels will either dive in or out. Guys, try to keep your heels in line with your big toes. Second thing, allow your body to create a wave-like pattern. The goal of this exercise is to create as much movement within all the joints of the body, creating a nice fluid motion of a compressed position into a length position. Get after it. In this exercise, we are trying to own space just by sitting on the floor. We're creating 90-degree angles in the knees and the hips, and the goal is to try to shift from side to side without the feet touching the floor until you have achieved those 90-degree angles. Not the easiest thing to do, people, so do your best on trying to keep those heels as high as you can while dropping your chest over the front shin to get a little bit of hip external rotation stretch. Mobility flows are one of my favorite ways to warm up because it is a sequence of integrated movements that comprises of stability, mobility, and coordination all wrapped into one beautiful movement sequence. Key takeaways here: make sure that as we transition from each movement into the next, we are as fluid and as connected as possible. Control everything. The second key takeaway is that when you drive up into this tabletop, you own this position for a second or two. When you drive into this Cossack with the T-spine rotation, you own it for a second or two. And this is what creates the magic in the movement. Here's a very challenging yet effective exercise to put into your warm-up. Key point here, you want to focus on driving down as hard as you can into the stick to the opposite knee that's on the floor. Very important. Second thing is allow the float hip slash leg move as you see fit to avoid the floor. Driving the knee up into the chest as high as possible. Once you get into full hip extension, get after it.